This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here with my old friend, Chef Andrew Radford. How are you today, Andrew?
I'm good, Jamie, thanks, and very good to see you. Very good to see you.
Now, we used to work together many a year ago back at the Atrium and or Atrium restaurant in Edinburgh, but now you have moved on to some new digs at Timberyard in Edinburgh, once again, on Lady Lawson Street. Please tell us a little about your new venture.
We closed Atrium and Blue a year and a half ago after 20 years of successfully running both. We're on the lookout for a new space, a challenging space, ideally a space that had not been a restaurant before, and came across this disused, slightly run down, damp and dark warehouse, formerly a Timberyard. And initially we kind of walked away from it thinking that it was too big and too ambitious for just a small family to run as a restaurant, but something kept pulling us back, and eventually we thought, well, let's just kind of have a go at this. The banks weren't interested. We had to raise funding from friends and family. Therefore the budget was quite tight and limited. But I think that helps you become slightly more resourceful and creative in what we've put together, which people, I think, now seem to like a lot.
Now, it certainly is a family affair this time around. I can remember in the past when I worked with you, Lisa took quite an integral role to the way that the restaurant, the aesthetic of the restaurant, the way the restaurant was run and the like. But this time you have the entire brood on board.
Indeed, we do. Lisa and I have kind of, I suppose the next generation are coming through with the energy and verve that perhaps at our age begins to wane a little. So we've got Ben, our eldest son, who worked with us at both the Atrium and Blue in the kitchen and on the bar. He's taken charge of the kitchen with some good guys who he's worked with previously at restaurants in Edinburgh. Joe, our youngest son, is in charge of the bar and the wine list and the cocktails. He's just back from his kind of world tours with lots of exciting ideas, which he's putting together for the bar. And Abby, our daughter, who's now 20, and I think the last time you saw her, Jamie, she was 3. She's in charge of kind of the social media and photography on our website as well, and also is frequently found on the floor. I was going to say on the floor with her boyfriend Kev, but that sounds... working on the floor with Kev, who's also involved. So yeah, it really is a kind of family thing, which I think is... In fact, we haven't really had time... We've been open now for, 6 months, and I don't think we've really had time to pause and consider how special that is, the 5 of us under the same roof. There are times, of course, when there's a bit of friction, but that's not a bad thing, I think.
During lunch today, I was considering my time working with you, and the fact that you always had a very particularly close relationship with many of your suppliers, and this was quite some time ago now, and I believe that basically traces back to your time on the train. The train. Actually, you better explain the train.
Yeah, the train. As a result of a country house hotel that I was involved in many years ago, going back now to the beginning of the 1980s. A train kind of came out of that, a luxury touring train called the Royal Scotsman, which would cover most of the train tracks in Scotland, and it was considered at that stage to be the only restaurant in Scotland that kind of visited the suppliers, and the suppliers would literally come to the train offering us a whole wealth of produce. I in particular remember the pulling into the Carlavoch Elsh, I think, and the local policeman coming up to the door and kind of looking behind him and just checking that it was okay to suggest that he had a salmon for us, no questions asked, and would we be up for the same next week, sort of thing. So, and a lot of those suppliers, not the policeman, but a lot of those suppliers, we're still using now. Charlie McGee, in particular, who provides us with great game and shellfish. So yeah, he's been on board for a number of years.
But you were doing that whole farm-to-table stuff way before that was a buzzword on everyone's menu, or a buzz phrase, shall I say?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say it came naturally, but we considered it really just to be good housekeeping and good kind of kitchen management. And I think that Ben and his team now are doing more of that, and they've raised the bar, and the majority of, if not, Ben will join us shortly, I think, and maybe go into a bit more detail, but most of what we buy is from the British Isles, a lot of it from Scotland. And it just kind of makes sense to the extent that we're now considering, and in the process of, not just considering, but we're in the process of putting some raised beds together to grow all of our own herbs and perhaps some salad leaves. Ben's buying in whole beasts and birds, and it's very much that kind of nose to tail thing which we were doing many years ago, but Ben, as I say, is pushing that even further.
So now we're here with Ben Radford. Ben, I wasn't actually at the Atrium when you were cooking there, but how does it feel to be sort of taking over the reins at Timberyard?
Still somewhat kind of surreal, I guess. It's funny because, you know, sitting here now, looking back to kind of 7 months before, I didn't think we'd be kind of sitting here. It's quite a strange feeling, but it feels great. It's great. It's fantastic. It's good fun. Still learning. Everything still feels very new, but we're getting there. And I think we're progressing kind of with every day, with every new menu, with every dish. Things seem to be kind of getting better, and we're pushing ourselves more and more. Not just myself, but the kitchen and the whole of Timberyard.
Apart from your father, where do you get most of your inspiration from?
That's quite a tough one, I guess. It's kind of drawn from everywhere, really. There's some great stuff going on in, obviously, kind of Scandinavia at the moment. That kind of is hugely influential, not just for myself, but I think for a lot of chefs kind of around the world at the moment. That is kind of where it's at. I think just kind of the seasons are the kind of inspiring part, I guess.
And at this time in Scotland, what are the ingredients that excite you most?
At this time, it's fairly limited. Obviously, we are as seasonal as we possibly can be. We've got some fantastic produce coming in from our forager, Ben, who kind of goes out and forages all over kind of the Perthshire area. And he's got contacts down in the south of England, so he does kind of bring some of that produce up, which is usually kind of about a month or two ahead of up here in Scotland. So there's some fantastic produce coming from down there, kind of some wild leeks, wild garlic. Sweet Cicely is a fantastic wild herb. Root vegetables, we try to do things differently with all the time, so you don't get too bored of them, because that's kind of all you get a lot of the year here. But yeah, doing different things with root vegetables, I guess, is kind of quite interesting. Kind of drying them, baking them, smoking them, obviously it's kind of pureeing them.
It's sort of taking the humble carrot or parsnip and making that the main ingredient of a dish.
We here push ourselves, I think, more than any other kitchen that I've worked in, to make an interesting vegetarian dish, because I'm not a vegetarian, but I think I'd be bored stupid. I was going to say something else then, but I think I'd be bored stupid if I was, because so often you go in and it's risotto or pasta, and that's kind of it. So we try and do different vegetarian dishes, like kind of honey baked carrot with toasted seeds and a Highland crowdie, which is a very simple dish, but some quite nice flavours and textures.
Well, Ben and Andrew, thank you very much for joining us today at Good Food Revolution. It's been great to see both of you working together and having such a marvellous location to show your skills both front of house and in the kitchen. Thank you very much.
Julie, thanks.